So I've played on multiple teams in my football career with different captains and different leaders. Some like to be vocal and like to use their voice in order to inspire others in the change room. However, some just like to lead by example on the pitch, lead by their actions, and don't tend to say too much, you understand? However, there's one main factor that is common throughout all these leaders, and the one thing to know to be a leader is that you need to be respected. Your teammates need to respect you and your coaches need to respect you, and because respect is the number one thing on how to be a good leader, I'm going to teach you how to be respected in the change room, how to be respected by your coaches, your teammates, and so you can actually be considered as one of the leaders in your team. Now, the number one respect factor I've seen across all the teams I've played for in terms of who's captain and who are seen as the leaders is simply your footballing ability. I know it sounds straightforward, it sounds very basic, but think about it. With your football ability, if you're the guy who's a bench warmer, always on the bench, he's never good enough to start games, do you think that your teammates are really going to respect you if you try pipe up in the change room, trying to give team talks, trying to criticize other players? Do you think they're really going to take that criticism well? They're going to look at you and they're going to think, yo, how is this guy telling me how to play on the pitch when he never plays his damn self, when I'm 10 times the player that he is? You understand? So the number one respect factor in the change rooms, especially when you're younger, is your footballing ability. Normally, it's not always the best players who are the captains or the ones who are seen as the leaders. However, you need to be good enough to the point where you're starting every single game, where your name is at least the top 5 on the team sheet. You understand? You don't have to be the best player, you don't have to be the first name on the team sheet, but you have to be between like at least 5 and 8 on the starting 11. You know what I'm saying? You have to be like between number 5 and number 8 at the very least. Garner some respect to the point where people actually take your criticism on board, to the point where people actually are okay with you, giving speeches in the change room and they don't see anything wrong with it. You understand? However, if you're a bench warmer on the bench, like I said, people aren't going to take you seriously. Like the amount of times where I've been in the change room and a bench warmer will start to give us a team talk, or he'll start criticizing certain players. You just see the look on players' faces. You just see the side eye that people give this guy. They're just like, yo, who does this guy think he is, bro? He never plays like Lawi. He's telling me how to play football, but he's never on the pitch to actually play. You understand? People aren't going to take that criticism well, compared to like one of the best players. Let's say it's the best player, your main guy, who's giving other people criticism or giving other people team talks. They're more inclined to take his advice on board. Even if they don't like what he's gonna say, they're still probably gonna take it on board. They're still probably just gonna stay silent. You understand? However, if you're just a bench warmer or you're not rated footballing ability wise in your team, then people are very likely just gonna bark back at you. Like I've seen it so many times where a guy who maybe he starts here and there, but he's not really known as one of the guys. He starts to pipe up, he starts criticizing. Let's say it's a winger who isn't really rated that highly, starts to get onto another centre back, and the centre back will just look at him and be like, yo, bro, shut the hell up. Like, what are you talking about, bro? I remember there was one time specifically, it was half time. I think we were losing the game like 1-0. We weren't playing well, and I remember one of our wingers went to our centre back, and he basically just told him, yo, pattern the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, fix up. Like, you're making mistakes. Like, fix up. And the centre back just went, bruv, what? You're only on the team because your dad is the coach, type thing. And he literally just said that out loud, and it was like, yo, I guarantee you, if it was someone else who said that to him, he wouldn't have reacted like that. If it was one of our best players who told him to fix up, he wouldn't have reacted like that. Even if he may not have liked what the guy said, he would not have burst out and have an angry reaction like that. You understand? That just wouldn't happen. He probably would have just sat down, probably would have gone and just sat down and just sort of gone with it. But because it was a player that he didn't rate footballing ability wise, he wasn't trying to hear it. You understand? So like I said, the number one respect factor and the number one way to become a leader in your team is your footballing ability. If you're on the bench, you don't really have a big say, so you understand. So if that means you have to work on your game, work on your weaknesses, you probably know at this point what your weaknesses actually are. So yeah, you just work on them. You just work your way to get into that starting 11. And like, yo, you'll be respected. You'll start to be more respected, and you start to command more respect, and you start to be able to give out orders and just have more authority, just have more respect in the change room. So that's the first point. So the next point is that you have to be able to take responsibility and take criticism yourself if you want to be a leader. Now, when I'm saying leader, it doesn't necessarily mean the captain. You understand? Like, it could be like a group of 4 players who are considered the quote-unquote leaders in the team. You know what I'm saying? The loudest guy, the leaders aren't always the actual official captain. So in terms of taking responsibility, if you want to be considered a leader, you're going to have to take responsibility for your mistakes. Anytime you mess up, you can't really blame anyone else. You have to put your hands up and say, yo, that was my bad, I'll fix up, you know what I'm saying? You fix up, you learn from that mistake, and you just move past it and even rectify that mistake in the game. So for example, if let's say you're a centre back, you gave the ball away, you're being silly on the edge of the box. Instead of you just clearing the ball, you try to play out from the back, the other team scores. So instead of you, let's say you go into the change room and someone's like, yo, why the fuck did you do that, blah, 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 get the ball out, why are you playing around at the back? Instead of you, barking, arguing at them, even though you are the captain, it's sort of like, yo, you just have to take that on the chin and just be like, yo, my bad, I'm going to rectify it. And then you go out onto the pitch, maybe you score a header from a corner, bang. And then yeah, you equalise, or you win your team the game, or whatever, you stop your team from losing. Or you just go out there and you have just an amazing performance second half where you're just solid as a rock type of thing. Pause. However, you can't be basically arguing with your teammate in that situation, simply because as a leader you're gonna have to dish criticism out as well. You understand? So if you're dishing out criticism, you're saying, yo, you need to improve on this, you need to work on this, you need to fix this. If you're giving out orders to everyone else, and then as soon as someone else gives you an order, immediately you get angry, people are going to look at you as a hypocrite, you understand? People are going to look at you and be like, yo, this guy just talks, this guy gives people orders, he says this and this, but he doesn't like to accept criticism himself. He doesn't like to accept blame himself. And that's where resentment grows. I've seen that as well, where the leaders in the team, they're so quick to tell everyone, you need to do this, you need to do that. But as soon as you try to tell them, they start getting angry. They start getting angry. They start getting aggressive. They start wanting to argue with you. And it's like, bro, you're out here telling everyone to, let's say you're out here telling everyone to run back, to track back with more intensity. However, the guy who's telling us to run back with more intensity, he's the winger and he's not even running back his damn self. He's there walking, you know what I'm saying? He's the one who lost the ball and he's there walking. And then we get into the change room, he's trying to say, people aren't tracking their runners. The centre midfielders aren't tracking their runners. I'm like, what? Have you seen this guy all game? This guy's been getting locked up all game. Even when we're defending, he's not helping out his fullback in defending. He's not doing nothing. He's just being a hypocrite, you know what I'm saying? And if you want to be respected, you just have to take responsibility and fix it. Don't say, oh yeah, my bad, and then do the exact same mistake again, because that's just stupidness, you understand? Make the mistake, learn from it, don't do it again, and then rectify that mistake, either with a goal, with a piece of play that you do, or just your overall performance, you understand? So that's the second point on how to be respected. You have to take responsibility and you have to take criticism from your teammates. One more thing I just wanted to say, I wanted to add another point onto the footballing ability point, is that if you don't believe about the footballing ability thing, it happens in professional football all the time. Now think about when Erik ten Hag came to Man United. Immediately, what was like his first main thing that he did, apart from, forget the signings, forget, him selling players, one of the first things he did was he took that captaincy off of Maguire's arm, you know what I'm saying? He took the captaincy simply because he knew, Harry Maguire's not going to be playing, so there's no point in him being captain. His word doesn't hold the same way as Bruno Fernandes, because he gave the armband to Bruno. He's not going to be as respected as Bruno Fernandes, because Bruno Fernandes, he plays every game, he scores goals for them, creates chances. Even when Casemiro came, Casemiro is going to be a more respected leader than Maguire. Varane was there as well. Ronaldo was there at the time. Obviously, he left, but Ronaldo was going to be a way more respected leader than him as well. So it was one of them things where it made no sense for Harry Maguire to continue to be captain, because everyone will be looking at him. Trust me. Imagine you're in the change room with Harry Maguire, bro, and you're Casemiro, you're Varane. Casemiro had won the Champions League 5 times, Varane 4 times, CR7 5 times, and they're listening to Harry Maguire, bro. Obviously, no disrespect, but there's levels to the team. Got five-time Champions League winners compared to a guy that 5 years ago played for Leicester City. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them ones where it's like your footballing ability must matter. The only exception in professional football that you get are the old guys. The old guys who were absolute ballers in their prime, but they just can't do it anymore. Them guys right there, they get the respect. So, for example, take a guy like Xavi at the end of his Barca career. He didn't start games, but I'm pretty sure when he was there, when he was in the change room and he was giving speeches, everyone listened. You know what I'm saying? Everyone listened. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure his last year was the year where Barca won the treble. They won the Champions League with Messi, Suarez, and Neymar. But everyone probably listened to Xavi, even though he wasn't starting. People listened to that guy because they were like, yo, even though he's getting on in age, we know he was a baller in his prime, and he still probably showed, you know, flashes of what he could do on the training pitch. Same as Zlatan at AC Milan. When Zlatan was at AC Milan, I'm pretty sure when they won the league, he was injured the whole year, but he was still in the change room, still giving speeches. And obviously, Milan ended up winning Serie A that year, and everyone was saying, yo, how inspirational of a leader Zlatan was, how everyone respected him, because, yo, everyone knew that, yo, this guy's Zlatan might be getting on in terms of his age, but obviously they know how much of a baller he was. It was just that I'm pretty sure he had a knee injury that kept him out the whole year, but he was still there in the change room, helping the team, leading the team, you know what I'm saying? People respected him, and they ended up winning the league ultimately. So I'm pretty sure his presence was helpful. And yeah, his leadership actually helped the team to go on and win the league. So yeah, in terms of that, like I said, footballing, the 2 points, footballing ability, taking responsibility, / being able to take criticism. That's how you become a leader on your football team. That's how you become a respected player, where people can look at you for guidance, for advice, or not even guidance or advice, even if it's just on the pitch. People will be, when something needs to happen, when big players need to step up in big moments, cup semi-finals, cup games, big league games, people are going to be looking at you, and people are going to be expecting you to step up. And when they expect you to step up, bang, that's when you have to step up as a player and produce the goods. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I've been JT, and I'm out.